Bruh, bruh, bruh. Moon Knight episode 1 was absolutely lit. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, I was expecting the episode to be a slow introduction into the chaos, but nearly 80% of what we have seen so far in the trailers was in this first episode. And I think that this was a kickoff to the mystery journey that we're going to be taking throughout the series, sparking questions like, what is happening between Mark, Steven, and Khonshu? Is Steven really even a real person? Why was the scarab so important? Could Dr. Harrow's base be in Wanda Gore Mountain? Boy, it's time to dive into the deep end of this series. If you are ready to figure all of this out with me, drop a sub to the channel. Now, Moon Knight episode 1 was honestly the best start for a series from start to finish that I've seen on Disney+, bringing just as many questions as to what is going on as what we saw in WandaVision and Loki. And what is interesting about this episode is that everything that we saw was through the eyes of Steven, even though we saw Mark and Moon Knight. So when he blacks out to Mark's control, we are in the dark just as much as Steven is when he wakes up as to what happened. So let's talk about that first. What is going on with this triangle between Steven, Mark, and Khonshu? We are introduced to Steven as someone who is already paranoid about what is being done in his sleep, as he isn't sure what is really happening, if it is real or a dream. But for some reason, he is inclined to learn about Egyptian deities, which maybe I need to do now too, since this show seems to be leaning heavy into that. But Mark takes over, and out of nowhere, Steven is in a random mountain village, which could be Wanda Gore Mountain, but I'll get to that later. This village is where we see Khonshu for the first time, and he seems to be upset that the quote idiot has taken over, which I absolutely think is hilarious, by the way.
Go back to sleep, worm.
But it's clear that Mark and Khonshu have an understanding and have kept all of this hidden from Steven, leaving him to live a pretty crappy life, literally talking to the only person that will listen. It is almost like Mark has to fight to take over control of Steven's body, and when he does, it could last for days and days. R.I.P. to Gus. But it really makes me question how things work. Like, when and why does Mark allow Steven to take over? It's almost like Mark remembers what happens during his time as Steven, but not the other way around, as Steven doesn't even remember his hot date.
No.
It seems that Mark doesn't want Steven to see any of this side of his life, as if he wants to keep the personalities as separate as possible. But we also get multiple clues that Mark is dead, and I think that Steven might be questioning that too. The first is when Steven is talking to the little girl in the museum, and she asks him if it bothered him that he was not accepted through the field of reeds, which I think has a deeper meaning that we'll touch on in 1 second. A second clue is that Layla has been trying to reach Mark for months now. A hint that Mark could only be months into his time as Moon Knight, and the same for Steven as being a person. But getting back to the field of reeds part, I think it's all connected to Dr. Harrow and Mark's death. But first things first, we got a lot more from Dr. Harrow than what I was expecting in this episode. But we see that he's already tapped into a dark source of magic through the deity Ammit. I believe the whole judgment thing is a spell that calls on the power of Ammit and kills people that she finds unworthy. Sorry, Grandma, but bruh, Harrow has his own village where he is worshipped and adorned. And like, damn, he's even got his own castle in the town. I believe that he's set up somewhere that is a source point for dark magic. Maybe even Wanda Gore Mountain, where we saw Wanda at the end of WandaVision studying through the Darkhold. And you're going to want to drop a sub because I'm going to do a complete different video about that later this week. But he sees Mark and recognizes him as a mercenary. He actually looked at him as if he was a dead man, or as that he saw a ghost or something, making me believe that he saw Mark die, connecting this all to the scarab. Now, I'm about to get into some theory here about what is going on with the scarab, and I kind of have a feeling that I'm right about this, so if you really want to go in blind and not be spoiled, then you want to get out of here. But I promise you it's not anything leaked or any concrete information, just theory. But I think Mark died trying to stop Harrow from getting the scarab. We've seen shots with Mark and Harrow at an Egyptian tomb, and I think Mark was hired to help Harrow and his crew find the scarab safely. But when Mark finds out that Harrow is planning to use it to summon enough power from Ammit to judge the entire world, Mark intervenes, and I think that's when he's killed by Harrow's men. But here is where it gets deeper with Khonshu. Ammit was apparently damned by Egyptian gods because she wanted to do the exact same thing that Harrow plans to do. Seeing that Harrow was going to be successful, I believe that Khonshu then took over Mark and made him his avatar to prevent that from happening. And that whole relationship between Khonshu and Ammit, I think that is why Harrow knows that Khonshu is the one that is speaking inside of Steven's head, because he realizes that the gods are yet again trying to stop Ammit's plan. And also too, and he also could be aware now that Steven Mark is Moon Knight, as to why he even sent that dark beast to go after him anyway. So yeah, all of that to come out of episode 1, man, I have to tell you, this is a very strong start to a series. I mean, this could very well be one of my favorite series on Disney Plus, period. I'm not sure quite yet if it'll top what we get in Mando, especially in season 2. But when you look at shows like Loki and WandaVision that were already drawing parallels off of what else was going on in the MCU, like when you think about Loki, you're worried about what's happening with the timeline and the multiverse. And when you're looking at WandaVision, you're just kind of curious about how this will go down, if it might bring in mutants. With Moon Knight, this is standing on its own as a solid as premiere, and I cannot really wait to see the rest of this season because I think this can really have a chance to be one of those shows that goes for the awards. Man, Oscar Isaacs is really killing his role as Moon Knight, playing all of these different personalities, and even Ethan Hawke as Dr. Arrow is killing it as well. I really can't wait to see how this show takes off and becomes something great as the series goes on. So man, with that hell of an episode in the books with episode 1, where do we go from here? I think we stay with Steven for a couple of episodes, maybe even until episode 5, where I think we will go back and see a bit of Mark's backstory. The reason I say that is because the show writers say we will see Mark's Jewish faith in later episodes, and critics got to see 1 through 4, and their takes of episodes 2 through 4 are toned down from episode 1, which I'm completely fine with, by the way. After what we got in episode 1, I need a break. But I think it will pick up with Steven waking up yet again after Mark gets them out of that predicament. I can see Mark setting up a meet with Layla, but she ends up meeting Steven. But I'm interested to see how much Mark will reveal to Steven and how their relationship will evolve moving forward, as we're just seeing the beginning stages of it. If Steven becomes someone who is willing to let Mark take control when needed, I can really see them working together as the season goes on, maybe leading Steven to getting his own Moon Knight persona as Mr. Knight. But like I said, we are just getting started in this mystery. Let me know what you think we'll see in episode 2 in the comment section below. And as always, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We are on the grind to 500 subs.